Hi guys, welcome to Outpost 18. My name's Liam, and we're going to be talking about Darklight Memento Mori, specifically character builds. And today we're going to be looking at the Blood Witch. And the Blood Witch, I like the Blood Witch. I think it's quite an interesting character. You can do quite a lot with the Blood Witch. However, it's important to note that the Blood Witch is entirely a supporting character. So if you have any designs to try and play this game solo with the Blood Witch, I would put those thoughts right out of your mind, because it's not going to happen. You're probably going to find it harder than the Revenant, to be perfectly frank. However, draft her into a party and she is gold dust. She is really, really good. So we're going to have a look at the stats first of all. So melee, as you'll probably expect from a spellcaster, is pretty shocking. You know, it's one attack hitting on a 5+. And it's not going to get any better. You can't even polish a turd in this case. I mean, it is just bad, and it's going to be bad, period. The belt size is 3, that's good. And ranged, again, is pretty bad. It's 1 hitting on a 5+, so you're not going to do an awful lot of it. Probably the best you could do with this character is maybe give her a crossbow or something like that, so that you increase her chance to hit, and you just chuck out a couple of shots and just hope for that you land a hit. And if you do, then you're going to be doing that 2d6 damage with a crossbow or a bow, longbow, something like that. The initiative is not great. It's initiative 4. However, you can increase that with things like a tattoo, or lanterns, or what are the other things that you can use? There's some other bits and pieces that you can use to increase initiative. You could probably get that to 6 quite easily, maybe a little bit higher, and then actually that would become quite useful. However, and this is a big however, there's a skill we're going to look at called time meddling, which basically lets you use your spells outside of your turn. So if you're going to go down that route, and I think it would be crazy not to, you actually don't need high initiative. So you could probably just ignore it, and we'll come on to that later. Movement is 4 as average, health is 12, which is poor, same as the Revenant, and the Necromancer, I think, it's pretty low. However, her sanity is 8, that's quite good. So she starts off with a Cursed Skull, which gives her the Catalyst ability. So she can actually channel items, channel source, but other than that it's not doing anything. And she starts off with the spells Sphere of Hate and Sacrifice, which we'll look at later. Strength 2 is not great, Perception 3 is okay, Mind Value of 5 is not bad. It's not as good as the Necromancer's, but it's still pretty decent. And if you get a tattoo like Source Wells, you can bump that up to 6 when you're channeling Source. You'll probably want to do that. So Source Wells is a very good tattoo to go get. It's only going to cost you something, I think your first tattoo costs about 100 gold coins, so worth getting early. Charisma 3 is okay, Agility 3 is okay, and again Endurance 3, so those are all pretty average. So those are the stats. Item wise, there are plenty of items you can get, plenty of catalyst items which help you manipulate dice when you're actually casting spells. They're well worth having, because if this character is not casting spells, there's no point having it, frankly. So, but she's extremely vulnerable, therefore, to source burns when spellcasting goes a bit wrong. Now, there are some spells in certain branches, like Libithia, which are less of an issue. There are others, like Odin Ash and whatnot, where you're going to be setting yourself on fire straight away, and it's all pretty horrible and nasty. So you have to be a bit careful about which branch of spells you're picking from. And if you can find some items, like I think Eye of the Primordial is amazing. I think it lets you mitigate or completely ignore level 1 and 2 source burns, which is fantastic. So if you're lucky enough to find that, it's amazing. Otherwise, there are some which let you re-roll a dice. I think there's an old staff or something, things like that. They're pretty good. However, if you want to be shooting with a crossbow or something, maybe you give some thought to smithing a gem into that, so that the crossbow itself becomes a catalyst item. But actually, I'm probably about to poo-poo all of that with some of her skills, because depending on where you take this character, some of these things I've just talked about are unnecessary, like the initiative, holding a catalyst item, etc., which we'll see in a minute. So, without further ado, let's start looking at these skills, of which there are a lot. So the good ones, the really good ones, which you probably want to be focusing on. So you've got Gifted Mind, level 1, source cost of all spells is lowered by 1. That's extremely good. However, because there are so many good skills to choose from, you may be less inclined to take that. But it is exceptionally good. I already had a card out actually, which was Deep Focus. Whenever you cast a spell, you may re-roll one of the dice of your choice by spending a stamina. Again, that's extremely good because you can potentially avoid source burns by re-rolling dice when you're casting spells. However, having to spend a stamina, and she doesn't have a lot of stamina in the first place, endurance of 3 is average. She's going to need that stamina to evade killer blows, or actually any blow, because she is quite weak. And at some point you're going to get ambushed and she's going to have bad guys standing next to her. So if you have no stamina, she will die real quick. So consider having a means of escaping. And you can use time meddling and manipulation to do that, or something else. Because you'll need to get out of harm's way real quick. So if you don't have any stamina, that can be a problem. You're probably going to need that. So those two are quite good, but there's more, and these are probably a bit better. So you've got Astral Knowledge at level 4. Gain half round up of your mind value in source points when the darkness roll is 1. So this character is useless when you roll a 1 in darkness. No channeling, no source, no nothing. So all she's using is whatever offensive weapon she may or may not have. So this is exceptionally good. That means your character is going to be useful regardless of the darkness roll. So it's definitely worth taking that. Spellcraft, you may learn 2 more spells above your limit. Again, that's exceptionally good. There may be a tattoo that helps you learn additional spells as well. I'd have to go and look into that. But you'll probably want to get the source spells one first, so you channel more source, and hence you get access to more source and can check out more spells and stuff. What's it? Etheric Touch. You will now gain your full mind value in source points when the darkness roll is 5 or 6. Instead of 6 only. Again, it's good, it's very good, but all the stuff we're talking about right now is very good, so you have some tough decisions to make there. Time meddling, this is definitely one that you will always want to take. It's level 4, when you get access to it, just take it. It is an amazing spell. You may cast spells even during the turn of a monster or another accursed, so long as it is before or after their movement or attack phase. So as an example, if you take the manipulation spell where you can actually move characters, a monster can move towards you, get into combat, or move into the front rank of your fellow accursed, and then you can time meddle and move it away, and then suddenly it can't attack. That is amazing. So it doesn't matter how big or scary the demon is, let it come in, time meddle, push it back, it can't do anything unless it has a ranged attack or a hideous breath weapon or whatever, and there's not a lot you can do about that. That's when you're going to start tumbling around corners and stuff. But time meddling is excellent. Don't leave home without that. That's such a good skill. You want to take this one. And this one is really good as well. Soul branded at level 1, you no longer need a catalyst equipped item to channel or cast spells. So if you do want to just walk around with a crossbow, actually forget what I said earlier on about gemming it up, because if you take this, you wouldn't need to gem it up. You're going to be have the keyword catalyst all the time. However, if you take this, you're probably less inclined to take a catalyst item, and a lot of the catalyst items let you massage the source dice rolling. So if you take this, you probably won't take a catalyst weapon, and you probably won't get the benefits of fiddling with the source that you generate and dice rolling for casting spells. So it's an interesting one. This is good if you're going to go on the offensive. If you want to hold a crossbow or a bow, take this. If you're not going to do that, and bear in mind you're only going to get maybe 2 shots. She starts with 1 ranged attack. She might pick up a second one later on at like level 3, 4 or whatever. If you're not going to be doing that, this doesn't serve a purpose. You might as well just hold on to a catalyst item, get the benefits of the catalyst keyword, and all the other benefits that that item is going to give you, like the Eye of the Primordial or Null Staff, whatever. But anyway, those are kind of like go-to skills. So just to recap, time meddling, you've got to get that. Soul branded, depends if you want to be offensive or not with a ranged weapon. And then Hysteric Touch, Spellcraft, Astral Knowledge, Deep Focus, Gifted Mind, they're all good. It just really depends on what direction you want to take your character in, really. There were no bad choices there. We then get she has access to pets, and these are good as well. So it starts off, I think, with We Are One. You can have a bat, a crow, a wolf, a toad or a cat, etc. following you around, and they grant you +1 mind. +1 mind is very useful. Incidentally, when you level up, you probably want to be sticking your points into mind. Maybe perception if you're going to go offensive with a crossbow and use soul branded, so you don't need to hold a catalyst item, then maybe you do perception. But otherwise you might as well just sink it into mind and think, you know what, I'm good at magic, that's just what I'm going to do. Then we've got some additional skills which make your pet better. So Animal Vigour, your animal companion grants you +1 endurance. That's great because you get more armour and you get more stamina, so you can tumble and evade more, so that's great. Power of the Wild, your animal companion grants you +1 to hit on melee ranged attacks. Now that's great if you are going to go down that crossbow route. Being able to hit on, start on 5, +1 to hit with crossbow 4, and then this you're hitting on a 3. That's when things start to get interesting, and makes her viable as a ranged attacker. But again, compared to the Outcast, it's nothing. It's literally just a drop in the ocean. So if you do have an Outcast knocking around, maybe you've got to question whether it's even worth putting a bow in her hand. You may just want to just go all out on source and magic. Blood Bond, your animal companion grants you +6 health. That is excellent. If you learn Blood Bond, Animal Vigour and Power of the Wild, you can learn 1 additional spell. And that's great. However, it is getting you to sink quite a lot into pets, or the pet branch of skills. And I don't think that's wise, because those other ones we talked about earlier, frankly, are better. The pets are nice. If you got skills to burn, then great, go for some of these pet ones. But I wouldn't go too heavily down that branch. And then we get onto all of this crazy stuff, which I'm not convinced has a place, but we'll go through them anyway. So phasing, level 4, your tumble is replaced by phasing. You may place yourself within any free square in line of sight up to 3 squares away. Can be useful for getting out of the way, but unless you're playing on your own, and I don't think you'll get very far on your own, I don't think you're going to need that. The other guys will help you out as long as you help them out with spells and stuff. Soul Kinesis, During the movement phase, you may open the door without needing to be adjacent to it. Also, once per round, you may force your attacker to reroll their attack dice by spending 1 stamina. It's just not worth it. In fact, I'm not going to put that in the pointless pile. There are much better skills available than that. Arcane Displacement, gain a number of evasion points equal to Darkness roll. Again, it's just not worth it. Her defense is so low anyway. Just wasting a skill card on making something that's poor, slightly less poor, I don't think it's worth it. I think you might as well just focus on what you're good at with that character, which is casting spells. Blood is power. If you're currently suffering 5 wounds, that's probably going to happen a lot. You may gain 1 more source point during channeling. At level 5, if you're suffering from 10 wounds, you may generate 2 more source points. It's okay, but there are so many more better skills. So again, I'm going to put that in the pile of poop over there. And then we've got Blood Cult. During channeling, you may suffer 2 wounds and gain 1 more source point. That's a poor trade-off. So again, don't like that one. That whiffs a bit. Dark Deal. At the start of every turn, while dead, you are healed by 2 wounds. Well, she can be healed by bandages and stuff when she's dead, so it's okay, but I don't think it's worth wasting a skill card on that. Source Shield. When suffering an attack, you may discard 1 or more source points currently in your pool to gain 1 armor for each. It's not going to make a massive difference, and you're just throwing source away, which is then going to hinder your ability to do what she's good at. So out of all those, I think probably phasing is probably the only one that I would probably give any thought to maybe taking, but that would be real end game stuff because I'd probably want to take those other skills that we talked about first. Then we have Ethereal Projection. Permanently gain +1 evasion. It's okay, but you can buy a cloak which will give you, or cape is it? One of the two will give you +4 evasion, so do you really want to waste the skill card on just +1 evasion? I don't think so. And we also have one with the source. The channeling penalty caused by medium armour is now -1. Channeling penalty caused by heavy armour is now -2. I don't think you need armour with this character. I think if you just focus on evasion and don't take anything which taps into your stamina, then you'll be fine. Because she can generate very high evasion with light leather items, boots, sandals, armbands, capes, caps, that kind of thing. And if you add all of that evasion together, it's going to be pretty useful. But you will need your stamina to trigger that, so try to keep hold of your stamina. So that's the skills. There are tons of spells to choose from, and I'm not going to go through them all. You're just going to have to study those and figure out what suits your playstyle. But I will talk about the ones she starts with, and also a couple of don't leave home without spells. So Sacrifice, she starts off with this: heal a character in line of sight up to 4 squares away by 1 wound for every source dice used. That is actually quite useful, especially if you don't have an exorcist. Having a healing ability is very, very useful. So it's a really good starting spell, and you'll want to retain that and keep it throughout the entire campaign. I would have thought it's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. And bandages on average are only going to give you 3, so if you chuck 2 source at that, so you're not going too wild with it and risking source bands, then you keep doing that. Once you get through a combat, it starts to become useful. We then have, she starts with Sphere of Hate, which is from the Odinash branch, and that one can be quite nasty when you pick up source burns. So cast a globe of dark energy against a character up to 4 squares away, so the range is really short. This deals 1d6 damage for each source dice used. If you pick up an item which allows you to berry source burns like the Eye of the Primordial, then this spell is excellent. Otherwise, it's very dangerous. You won't want to be risking more than a couple of dice on it, and in which case you're not doing massive damage. And once you start getting to like level 3 and 4 and the monsters are rocking up with 7 endurance, this isn't really doing anything. So you need to be throwing like 4 dice at this, and that is risky unless you have a way of dealing with source burns, and that by and large boils down to what items you manage to find. But it's alright, it's good, and hopefully by the time you need to throw 4 dice at it, you will have some better gear. Manipulation, just don't leave home without that, take it. Combine that with time meddling, it is disgusting. Just being able to move things away out of turn is just fantastic. And sometimes you just want to move characters into the fray. You got a Black Knight, couldn't quite make it into combat, you move them up, or a Nephilim, you get them in. Although the Nephilim can like leap and stuff. Or you've got Nexus, you just want to bring it into aura range or whatever. Then it's really useful, and just keeping bosses at bay by moving them back, it's brilliant. Manipulation and time meddling are so good, almost a little overpowered, but then the game is extremely difficult, so you kind of need every edge you can get. If we just focus on the blood branch, which is her speciality, imbued with pain is really good. Target the weapon of an accursed in line of sight. This weapon will deal 1 additional damage during attacks for every source dice used. So if you throw 4 dice at this, you'll easily cast it. You need 8 or more. 4 dice, you'll get that. And you chuck that on something like the Outcast, which is disgusting anyway, and then suddenly your Outcast is getting +4 damage on everything. It's just absolutely horrendous. Imbued with pain is really, really good. Or maybe you've got a Black Light who can cleave away, and you just want to give him a bit more strength, so he's got more chance of cleaving. Again, it is very, very good. And your fellow Accursed will love you for that one as well. They'll love the healing, they'll love the imbued with pain, and the manipulation. Those are 3 really good spells. Screaming Siren is also very good. Every enemy within the map tile you are currently in suffers 1d6 wounds for every 2 source dice you use. So again, throw 4 dice at this. Each target avoids 1 wound for every mind point they have. Oh, well, that's not so good actually, that bit. The mind point thing is going to be a problem, so this will only work well on certain types of monsters. However, you can certainly soften up a room and let something like an Outcast or a Black Knight or something just finish off the job. And because you can time meddle, you can do that at any point. You can do it right at the beginning of the round before the others have done anything, or you can do it at the very end and just finish off stuff. So that is good. Goreport is also good. This is your escape plan. So place yourself within a free square in line of sight up to 2 squares away. You may increase this distance by 2 for each source dice used. So again, combine that with manipulation. Someone moves up to you, they're going to hit you, Goreport away before they even attack you. Not manipulation, time meddling. Time meddling is fantastic, and you combine time meddling with things like Goreport or manipulation, and it's just absolutely disgusting. It's really good. You won't need massive evasion, or you won't need stamina to tumble and stuff, because you would just vanish. So that's nice. And the last blood spell we've got is Skull Crusher. So create a large boulder from the debris of corpses, of which there will be many around you. Place the boulder marker within 4 squares adjacent to you, or 3 squares. It will block line of sight and movement. It will remain here. That's great if you get ambushed and stuff, and you need to deal with maybe stuff that's in front of you before you can focus on what's behind you. You can just block off a whole corridor, say goodbye to those guys behind you, deal with what's in front, and then get rid of this, and then turn around and deal with the lot who've been peppering you from the back with ranged weapons or something like that. So that's quite a tactical one. It is quite useful. There are plenty of good spells to go look at, but the main ones for me are the ones we talked about. Manipulation is brilliant, the Screaming Siren is good, and the Goreport is nice. The Sacrifice, a little bit of healing is good. This is a tactical thing, it's okay, it's not too bad. There's lots you can do with the Blood Witch, lots of spells you can take. If you're gonna go for extra spells, do it early. Go to the Dark Enclave, I think it is, and gamble on rolling a load of dice to go through the Libithia branch of spells to get manipulation and stuff like that. Do that early, because if it goes wrong at the Dark Enclave and you lose your character or something, you don't want to be doing that when you're like level 6 or 7. It's just not worth gambling at those levels. But all the while you're at level 1 or 2, gamble away, and if it all goes wrong, fine, just to start over. But you won't want to be starting over once you've got to level 5, 6, 7, etc. You'll be crying in a bucket instead, so don't do that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and it gives you a bit of insight into the Blood Witch. She doesn't have definitive builds like some of the other characters we've talked about, like the Revenants. Kind of has a set build that you probably should be going for, otherwise it's not going to work very well. She can go down a few different paths. She has loads of really good skills, spells available to her. She's a little bit gear dependent, because if you want to go all out on magic, you're probably going to need an item which is going to soften the blow of source burns, and you will pick up source burns, that's just part of it. But don't gamble on those source burns, because if you pick up high level source burns, it's savage, and actually you can even kill your character permanently. So you don't want to be doing that. So just be a bit sensible about how much source you put behind your spells. But otherwise, this is a fantastic support character, good fun to play, extremely versatile, and she does excel at manipulating the board. So if you use her with something like an Outcast, and then another character which can hold the front line, like the Black Knight or maybe a Nephilim or something, then she can be very good, because it gives her the breathing space that she needs to do what she's really, really good at. If she gets surrounded, she's just going to spend her time gore-porting away and stuff like that, just trying to save her own skin, and then she won't be giving you that extra damage or weakening everyone in the room or manipulating monsters away and that kind of thing. So she does need some breathing space. So anyway, that's the Blood Witch. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we will see you again soon.